And we are live on YouTube and we are live on Facebook.
Okay.
So I want to get out here.
Am I still on?
I will.
Or my off camera. Okay, I'll look at you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Amanda here. I am the wellness director here at the Olean YMCA. And thank you so much for hopping on virtually. Excuse my voice, drainage. It happens a lot. And to everyone here and that's with us in person. I am very excited for this actual seminar. We are going to be discussing a whole bunch of different things. So I want to introduce Gene Rogers. He is a teacher here at the Portville Central School, and he is going to tell us how to crack the weight loss code. So welcome, Gene.
All right, thank you. So for those of you that are here, I've given everyone Post-it notes, and I also gave them a packet of slides to take notes on here. So if you're virtual, if you'd like to get these notes after the fact, you can get them at the wellness desk. But the second slide is, okay, what are we not going to do it? Okay, what is your health goal and what are you trying to achieve, just to get that focus. So for the people here, I can actually help them try to meet that and hone in on what those are. But just a real quick bio is, as Amanda said, I am a science teacher at Portville Central School, and I used to teach 4th grade, which was all subjects. And then when I moved up to 5th grade and I got to move into science, which is a field I love, one of the first units I had to teach was nutrition. And I was about 30 pounds heavier, and I thought, okay, hi, welcome. I thought, I need to do something about this. If I'm going to teach this, I need to model it because that's what I do as a teacher. So right away, I started working out, and I started doing everything I could to drop weight because that's what I thought fitness was. And that's really not the case, as I found out. I found out that the more weight I lost and the more cardio that I did, the more cardio I had to do to maintain that weight loss. And it was ridiculous. So I was getting skinnier and skinnier, but I wasn't getting the muscle tone of the bulk. And it seemed as I got older, my metabolism was dropping. That's a myth, by the way. So I was talking to my buddy in his kitchen. I said, I think I want to try weight training. And he goes, why? And I said, so I can eat more. So that was my motivation in getting into weight training. And as it went down that road, that was in, I think around 2012, that's when things started opening up and I started getting more and more knowledge and putting it into practice as I taught it year after year at Portville. And so this is a culmination of this. We had a standards change this year, so I'm not teaching it for 5th graders anymore, but I still have the knowledge. And I had the idea one morning while working out upstairs that maybe I could share this with people who could use this knowledge, because I still have thank you cards on my desk from my students that think, getting that knowledge, and especially when they got older and into sports, it's transformed their lives. And, when they say something like that, you hit home with it. So that's why I'm here today. For those that are here, what are your weight loss goals, if you have any, or whatever your health goal, I should say, is?
I just want to get back in generally better shape and more stamina so I get tired. And
Right.
I do want to get some increase my upper body strength a little, but I haven't started that part yet.
Right, good. Actually, you can. And I'll definitely be able to help you tonight.
And I just want to get in better shape, lose some weight.
Okay, great. That's what I'm here for. Yes. Strength. Got it.
Eat healthier.
Eat healthier. Great.
More strength and stamina.
More strength and stamina. Okay, great.
Well, since the COVID, I've gained over 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Just sitting and not doing anything. So we just joined the Y a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
And
Welcome to the Y.
we're both diabetic, so
Okay.
we need to be on a diet.
All right. Well, I can definitely help everyone with these goals. So let's get started right away. Just to define obesity, is, there's different levels of it. If you've got, 100 pounds overweight or over, you're morbidly obese, and you can go way beyond that even. Most people have some weight to lose, except for athletes who are routinely working out. And everyone puts on weight over the winter months, and I'm going to get into why that happens as well. But obesity is the leading cause of heart disease, and you're carrying all that extra weight around. For every pound of fat that you have extra on your body has to grow 200 miles of capillaries, because that body fat that's on you has to be metabolized someday. That's the intent. It's why your body wants to have extra fat on you in case you need it. So that means your heart has to push the blood through all those extra miles of capillaries, and the more weight that you have, the harder it's got to work. And diet can even make that worse depending on what you're eating. It causes type 2 diabetes because it inhibits the pancreas from making insulin, which is what we need to metabolize the food that we eat, specifically the carbohydrates. It can cause sleep apnea. It can definitely shorten your lifespan, but then again, so can be getting hit by a bus. Compromises immunity, leaving you vulnerable to disease. If you don't exercise, your heart and your diaphragm, which powers your respiratory system, not your lungs, your diaphragm does. And if those are weakened, that takes a toll on your body, and it leaves you open to disease, and you can't fight it as well as you could if you were fit. It can accelerate organ failure of other organs. It can make you vulnerable to cancer. It can lead to depression, and it increases stress to all body systems, including your nervous system and your overall sense of well-being. So to get started, nutrition is a big key of that. And so we have to learn how to read a nutrition label. And this is one of the codes we want to crack, because when you look at these things, what's all this and what's, saturated fat versus trans fats and these other things. Fortunately, they're making these a little bit easier to read, and they're bolding the important stuff, but there's a lot of this that's important. So I'm going to keep flipping back and forth to this. I'm going to have to jump out of the PowerPoint. But basically, for every nutrient, these are all the nutrients that we have, that we put in our body. For every gram of fat, it requires 9 calories to burn off that gram of fat. So it supplies us with 9 calories of energy. And calories, as you can see, this is right out of my science vocab terms for my students. It's a unit of energy used to measure the energy content of food. For example, a teaspoon of sugar has 16 units of energy, which is 16 calories. A teaspoon of sugar has 4 grams of sugar, which is carbohydrates, and 4 times 4 is 16. Protein has the same amount, 4 calories. Vitamins and minerals are calorie-free. And of course, water is calorie-free. A lot of my students swear that water gives them energy, and I had to explain to them that it doesn't. It just lets your blood have more fluidity to get the energy and the oxygen to your cells that give you the energy. So there's a 5-20 rule that we're going to look at as well. So let's see, to get started, once we know all this, the bottom line when you're trying to lose weight is to understand how the body puts it on. And I'm going to get to that in a later slide. But the bottom line, whatever you put in your body, the bottom line is the calories. You have a certain calorie requirement. A lot of people go over that for a number of ways. A lot of people don't understand what a serving size is. So, for example, I'll see kids with bottles of Gatorade in my classroom, especially around the summertime, and they're astounded to realize that this is not 1 serving. This is actually 2.5. And if they bring in a little snack, and usually they bring in snack bags bigger than this. This is a bag of pretzels. How many servings would you think?
2.
It is 2. Most people would say 1. But not everything is equal. For example, if you're looking to eat 1 serving of nuts, these are almonds. Now let me pass this around. Oops. This is 1 serving of almonds. It's 28 grams. And this packs a lot of energy, but a lot of good energy. So when you're trying to figure out, you can calculate the calories, you have to pay attention to the serving size. It's not per package. I once had a friend who discovered almonds. These are delicious, and I know they're healthy for me. And she had a large bag, and she was going through the whole thing. She didn't know how many calories she was putting in her body. So that's a big deal. So this is Oscar Mayer bacon. One slice is 35 calories. Doesn't seem so bad. This is Tagalon. These are Girl Scout cookies. 2 cookies is a serving. That's 140 calories. Seems hard to believe that you could eat 3 slices of bacon and still have less calories than this. And depending on what your health needs are, this could be healthier. So I'm going to talk about each of these nutrients in here and tell you what's good about them and what's bad about them. There are 3 main types of fat, 3 main types of carbohydrates, only 1 type of protein. Well, technically 2, I take that back. So I want to talk to you about this 5-20 rule. Besides these nutrients, there's some things you have to watch out for. And this is where processed food comes in, especially fast food. What do you think is the big problem with fast foods? What do you think the biggest thing that you should avoid, why it's bad for you? What do you think? Anybody have any?
Sodium.
The what?
Sodium.
Sodium? Yeah, it is. My students would always say, oh, it's fat. It's not, it's sodium. If you have too much sodium in your body, what it does is it makes you thirsty, and you drink lots of water. And then you're peeing out all your electrolytes, not just the sodium, but also necessary potassium. And worst of all, since you drank all that water, you have increased blood volume, which if you're trying to put water through a hose and you put more water in than you need, that's really going to strain the hose. And that's what causes high blood pressure and why sodium causes that. And if you have a lifetime of eating too much sodium, putting pressure on your blood vessels, they could burst. They might heal themselves and cause blood clots. And those could move up and block blood flow to your brain and cause a stroke in your later years or even younger years. So sodium is something we really want to watch. Who knows how much sodium you should have in a day when we're reading these nutrition labels? Guess what? I don't either. I have no clue. But I know how to read a nutrition label with the 5-20 rule. The 5-20 rule applies to all of these percentages on the right. And they will tell you how much one serving has of all that you're allowed in a day. So you're allowed 100% of these nutrients, including saturated fats. These are the main fats, saturated, trans fats, and then the 2 unsaturated. So if you eat 2 little Tagalon cookies, you've already hit 25% of all your allowable saturated fat for a day. And if we come over here to the bacon, 5% for 1 slice. Not as bad as everyone thinks it is. Sodium's only 8%. And when I say only, this is what the 5-20 rule is all about. 5 is low, 20 is high. Because if it's 20%, that means 5 more. Or if you have 20%, you only get 80% for the rest of the day. And you're not going to eat. Well, in this case, you have 8 cookies and you've hit your limit for saturated fat. Now, surprisingly, sugars, which in my case, in my opinion, is another big problem you're going to find in fast foods and processed foods. And it's billed as fat-free because, of course it isn't. It's protein-free too. It's vitamin-free. It's mineral-free. It's a different animal. But we don't put that on there because everyone has different needs. A marathon runner is going to need a heck of a lot more sugars in a day than someone who sits around watching TV all day. So that's why they don't put those on here. But if you look at a nutrition label, look at the serving size, the calories, and then these percentages. And you're mindful that of everything you're going to eat. That really helps you plan tremendously. In the spring, I always try to drop my body fat down, and I do a log. And if I measure out everything that I have with a digital scale, and I'm able to look at this, and I'm measuring out the serving sizes of everything I'm eating. If I'm making a salad, I look at the nutrition for all the ingredients of the salad. Salad mixes are actually pretty good. And I'll log that. I'll also, after I log the calories, I'll log the fat, the carbohydrates, and the protein. And I also log the sodium and the cholesterol and the fiber. So when we're looking at the 520 rule, that's low in fiber. We want more fiber. So that's one good thing you definitely want more of, bless you. So the 520 rule really cracks the code in trying to read a nutrition label. And you can see that these two cookies are a lot worse than this bacon. And that goes a long way with helping you make healthy choices in eating better food. And you can be aware of those bad ingredients, the things to look at, the cholesterol and the sodium, but also manage that too. Vitamins are usually down below this black bar here, and usually they're just trace amounts. I always recommend to take a daily vitamin every day. If you get more vitamins than you need for the most part, you're going to just pee them out. The better your body has those than if they didn't. And another great way to get lots of your vitamins is eating a variety of foods. Let me go into the next one here, and I'll come back when I need to. So as I said, you want to pay attention to serving size. A portion size of most foods, meats, anything is fist-sized. That's one serving size. That's a good gauge, especially if you're going out to eat at a restaurant. Little warning on restaurants. Restaurants don't care about your health. They don't care about you personally. They want the food to taste good so you'll keep coming back. What they want is your money. And that's how they survive. Rare is the restaurant that will actually go out of their way to offer you truly healthy foods. And for the record, Subway's off the charts with its sodium. I have eaten at some restaurants where they'll actually put the nutritional value of their foods right on the menu, which is huge for me. Nuts, as I showed you, that's about a palm size. Cheese is about finger sized. A cheese stick like that would be a serving of cheese. Always look at the nutrition label for the serving quantity if you can, and invest in a digital scale, because that'll help you manage it, especially if you're embarking on eating healthier or trying to get in shape. I have so many digital scales, I can't tell you. So fats, there's three types. We have saturated fat, unsaturated fat, and trans fat. So I kind of color-coded these with a traffic light. The worst up here is the trans fats. You may have heard how bad trans fats are. Does anyone know what they actually are? They're artificially modified fats. Back in the 50s and 60s, if a grocery store was going to stock cookies, they used lard, which is a saturated fat. It's also based from animals for the most part, so it rots pretty fast and has a short shelf life. And if they didn't sell, they'd start rotting and they'd have to toss them. So they got together and, boy, if we could only use a plant-based unsaturated fat and get it thick enough to use to cook with, that'd be awesome, because that would sit on the shelves for weeks before we'd have plenty of time to sell them. And that's how trans fats were invented. What they are is they're hydrated with water, and they're an unsaturated fat. But first, let's look at these. Saturated fats are usually animal-based. These are unhealthy and they're bad. They're not good for you. You saw 2 tag-along cookies gives you 25% of that. A lot of fats are deep fried. I used to love going to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I get what I thought the boneless wings were the healthiest, until I realized they were being fried in deep beef tallow. And they were breaded on top of that so we could absorb it. I don't do that anymore. Saturated fat is also associated with high cholesterol, which is a direct link to heart disease. You can always tell a solid saturated fat because it's solid at room temperatures. And I always tell my students, think of solid and unsolid fats. The unsolid fats are the good one. They're ready to be metabolized. They're liquid at room temperature. They're usually plant-based, from olives and peanuts, sunflower seeds, you name it. There's all kinds of oils you can get out there, including olive oil. Avocado oil, grapeseed oil. And these are the healthy good fats. The great thing about fats, remember from the previous slide, is you get 9 calories out of that. But it also stays in your stomach longer. Remember I said that because when you're choosing your diet, fat is not the enemy. You're trying to lose fat, but you need good fats or else you're going to walk around hungry all the time. So fats have gotten a bad rap when really the science has caught up and now showed us that this is the bad fat and this is a horrible fat. So what they've done is they've taken an unsaturated fat and it's hydrated with water to make it thick or solid at room temperature. So it's used a lot in candies. My kids love this when I tell them Skittles and Starburst are notorious for trans fats. Well, they were. It promotes visceral fat, which piles up on your belly and your internal organs. And the body honestly doesn't know what to do with it because it behaves like a saturated fat, but it's technically an unsaturated fat. And as a result, it's turned into a major health hazard to the point it's been legislated against. And I believe as of 2018, unless they could prove to the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, that it was necessary to make their product, they weren't allowed to use it anymore. And I'm happy to say that nowadays when I look, I rarely see something that has it in there. Usually it's palm oil that they've used. It had been in everything from crackers and cookies that are prepackaged to coffee creamers. And the way to tell is if you look at the nutrition label. I'm going to go back for a moment. Oh, is that touchscreen? Used to a smart board. So if you see anything hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated palm and palm kernel or cottonseed oil, boom, there are trans fats in there. But it says 0 trans fats. So first of all, they're allowed to round off. So if it's under 0.5 grams, they can round down to 0 and say it's not there. So if you have a teaspoon of coffee creamer and there's less than 0.5 grams of trans fats in there, if you put in, and that's per teaspoon, if you put in a tablespoon, you have 1.5 grams of trans fats, and it would say on the container, no trans fats, little tiny letters per serving. Peanut butter was notorious for trans fats as well. So fortunately, things have gotten better for that. Now remember, that's not touchscreen. I wonder how long it's going to take me to figure that out. Okay, so those are fats. Now we have carbohydrates. We have simple carbs, which are sugars, complex carbs, which are starches, and then fiber, and they're all carbohydrates. The difficulty of digesting them is based on their molecular structure, how many bonds are holding those carbohydrates together. Simple sugars only have 1 or 2 molecular bonds, and the number one thing to erase those bonds is amylase, which is found in saliva. So it will easily dissolve sugars and get those bonds away and make them, boom, ready to metabolize, just like that. It burns super fast. If you've ever tried to start a fire with gasoline, and then it's done, and you probably still have to get started, it'll burn out, you got to get some wood in there. Even with wood in there, you got to get that fire with a steady burn going. Sugars are the gasoline of energy for your body. Carbohydrates are your main source of energy, unless you're trying to achieve ketosis, where you're using protein as your energy source. And that's a fad. I don't know of anyone that can keep it going. I do know some people, actually I take that back. They are allowed some carbs, but they have to keep it low. And some people have been successful for that. I was just thinking of 2 people I know of that have been doing that. Sugars can't satisfy hunger. By the time they hit your stomach, they're gone already. So if you're trying to watch calories or trying to feel full because you don't want to walk around hungry, you really don't want to use sugars. It's kind of like eating a meal and saying, you know what, I don't think this meal has enough calories. Let me add some on there. Sprinkle it up with sugar. That's why sugar is really something to be avoided. And that's why they're called empty calories or invisible calories, because they're gone before you know it, and you're still hungry. They may be delicious and tasty. A lot of people like their jelly beans, and that time of year is coming. But you can have your jelly beans, just limited. But these are the carbs to avoid. When everyone says, I got to watch my carbs, these are the bad ones. These are our main energy source. They have many molecular bonds. Takes a while to break all those bonds to get into our bloodstream so we can mix it with the insulin and the oxygen we breathe, gets delivered to our cells, and boom, they burn, and that's how we're alive. These burn more slowly. They're our primary source of energy, as I said, and these are the best carbs for sustained energy. If you need immediate energy, I would go this route. When you're running long distance, you got to take your sugars with you, because I know from personal experience, mile 11, I'm dead in the water if I don't have some of these. Fiber. This is extreme carbohydrates with so many bonds, our body can't dissolve and break them down. They don't stay in our system long enough. Cows can do it because they have 2 stomachs. They'll vomit it up, chew it down, swallow it, and it goes into the other stomach, and they can get the carbohydrates out of it. That's why it says it provides no energy in humans. Goats can do it too. No calories for us. But it does fill up our stomach and adds bulk to our diet, and it's more filling. So it's a good idea to always get fiber where you can. Instead of eating white bread, wheat bread has more fiber in it. Probably just the same amount of calories, but it's going to hang around and be more filling. It's necessary for and beneficial for digestive health. You definitely have to have that. And there are 2 main types, water-soluble and insoluble. Some examples of water-soluble might be wheat bran, and insoluble could be fiber from fruits and vegetables, like leafy greens. Those are great insoluble fibers. This is the boring part, trust me. Okay. Protein, there are 2 types. There's plant-based and animal-based. Almost all food has protein to some degree. Some have more than others, like soy, which is plant-based, and then fish and pretty much any meat, seafood, fish, pork, chicken. Chicken breast has less cholesterol and saturated fat than beef. I would recommend eliminating beef and pork from your diet, or make it once or twice a week if you're trying to drop weight and get in shape, because you're going to get more bang for your buck with the chicken or fish. But make it lean. If you're going to eat beef or pork, stay away from all that saturated fat. Protein is what our body uses to build muscle. It repairs our body, it maintains cell growth, and limited amounts can be metabolized in a 2-hour window, and it diminishes by age, body mass, and activity level. Because as we get older, we tend to work more, we tend to not be as active as when we were kids, and so we're not needing to repair our body as much, and we're not working out trying to build protein. If you are, you can actually jack up your protein needs just by being active. And there's a big win to eating protein. Protein helps us increase our body mass, our muscle mass. And it also, our activity level, when I say body mass here, by the way, so if we get older and if we don't exercise a lot, we start losing a lot of our muscle mass unless you're active. So by staying active and exercising, you can maintain and keep that muscle. But if you have less muscle, you need less protein to build it up because you have less of it. And your activity level, if you're not very active, you're not repairing those muscles. But if you are active and you are maintaining your muscle mass, every 2 hours you can have 28 to 30 grams for men and 15 to 20 grams for women. And if you've ever had a protein bar, you'll see they're usually around 20 for women and 30 for men. Or, well, not for men, but you can, if you know how many grams you need, you can see, okay, pure protein bars, the little guys, 20 grams, they're marketing it toward women. And if you get something big like the Met-Rex or the Robert Irvine Fit Crunch, those are more calories geared toward guys, and they're bigger, and there's more fillers in there. Overconsumption of protein does not get stored as fat. You pee it out. And you might think, whoa, then I should eat more protein if I want to lose weight. Yeah, but protein molecules are bigger, and they can clog up your kidneys if you don't drink enough water. So if you're going to increase protein in your diet, you absolutely have to drink more water. It's kind of like if you had a big net with holes in it and you were filling it up with golf balls, you'd think the golf balls would fall through the holes. But if you have a whole bunch of them, they're kind of blocking the other ones from falling out. So if you're drinking water, it makes a hopper effect and they get through. But if you don't drink a lot of water and it clogs up your kidneys, you're going to develop high blood pressure, hypertension. So you have to watch that. So all calories are not created equal. When the stomach is nearly empty, it begins to produce a substance called ghrelin. And this sends a signal to the brain to stimulate hunger. So there's your enemy right there. I hate to go on a diet because I'm hungry all the time. You don't have to be. So fat stays in the stomach the longest. So based on what I taught you, what do you think is the best fat to eat? Unsaturated fats. So they're going to keep you from feeling hungry. So don't avoid fat, go for the healthy unsaturated fats. And protein stays in the stomach the second longest. Starches and fiber are the third longest, and sugars are not, I should say, a non-starter because they go so fast. For most people, the diet should be rich in fiber, protein, starches, and moderate amounts of healthy fat. Don't go crazy on the fat because it does have a lot more calories. But I've got another slide, so I don't want to give it away. But there is a perfect snack based on this. There it is. Nuts. So when I try to drop body fat, I'll get a little cup of nuts, 28 grams. I'll pack them in a baggie, and I'll eat them half a nut at a time because it takes the body 20 minutes to start realizing to stop that ghrelin production to let your brain saying, okay, we got food here. And the tongue and all the taste buds can tell by the textures that are stimulating the tongue are also sending signals to the brain of what's coming in. Creamy, sweet, savory. So nuts have that savoriness to them, and I'll eat half a nut at a time. And by the time I get done with the whole 28 grams, I'll discover that I'm not hungry. And if I'm busy, I can go 3 hours without really being hungry. And that's part of the battle of trying to take in less calories. They may say on the package, whoa, 28 grams, that's a lot of calories, but they're calories well spent, and they really sustain you. So we talked about how sodium causes high blood pressure. Cholesterol, the worst stuff is the LDL, the lower density lipids. They cause plaque buildup in the arteries and prevent blood from getting through there. And if you have a lot of bad cholesterol and you don't exercise, holy cow, you are automatically dropping exponentially your lifespan because that's going to keep building up layer by layer and less blood can get through. You know what the number one thing to reduce that is? Exercise. Exercise is sending your blood through at a high rate. It takes about I'm trying to remember the number. I think it takes about a minute for the blood to travel completely through your body. You might know that. You know how long it takes the blood to go through your body?
It's really quick. That's all I
Yeah.
don't know the exact number though.
Okay. So when you exercise, it's 10 seconds. It's just plowing through there. And it's like power washing your arteries. That's one of the benefits of it. And it will help get rid of that. But at the same time, if you had clogged arteries and you have not started an exercise program, you absolutely have to see your doctor to make sure you don't have any of these clogged arteries. Because if you're trying to exercise and you're trying to put something through that's not going to get through, you're going to find yourself in cardiac arrest or heart failure, kind of the same thing, but you're going to be making things worse. If you have weakened blood vessels, you're opening yourself up to a whole bad kettle of fish. So start slow and see what you're able to tolerate, but always see a doctor first. Sugar is hidden, it's disguised. This should not be I hate it when I see typos. It's hidden, it's disguised or misrepresented. Made with natural honey, pure cane sugar, fat-free. Twizzlers love using that one. It's pure sugar. Gluten-free. Gluten is a wheat product. How is sugar going to have gluten in there? And so they're trying to present it as something clearly it isn't for someone who doesn't know. I don't care if it's honey, pure cane sugar. Sugar is sugar. It's still simple carbs, whatever form it comes in. It's the same thing. Sugar, a lot of people don't register the amount of sugar they're drinking because it's in their beverages. Fruit juice, marketed as a healthy choice. It's terrible. It's everything soda is, except it's natural. So what? It's sugar. And if you carbonate it, you got yourself a soda. Eat the fruit, forget the juice, and get that fiber and all the vitamins that go with it. Sodas, chocked with sugar. A lot of people think, well, if I'm drinking it, they don't even process that they're putting calories in their body. Coffees, overloading the sugar in there. The lattes you can get at Tim Hortons and Starbucks. Holy cow. So there's a lot of stuff in there. Be mindful, be aware of sugar. Like that's going to go a long way. You'll see a tremendous drop in your body composition by that alone. Okay. So let's talk about some bad habits you may not be aware of. This is always an eye-opener for my students. And you can see their eyes go big. I do that all the time. And maybe you do some of these. The number one thing you never, ever want to do is eat out of the box or a bag, unless it's a serving size container. If you have a serving size of Sun Chips, you know what you're getting into. But the big problem when you eat out of the container, has anyone ever started eating ice cream out of the container? You know, and you start going, you scrape off the top, and then you notice around the edge it's kind of melted. So you spoon all that out. Now you got a big little island in there. So then you try to even it out, and now you got another moat around it. And before you know, you're halfway through the container. Put that away, get the scoops. You'll be doing yourself a favor. The same with chips. You can't see how much you're eating. You can't monitor it because your hand's going into a bag. Who knows how many you're going to pull out? It's a big mystery. Oh, but you're not seeing it cumulatively if you put them in a bowl. If you're trying to get in shape, a great thing to do, that digital scale, put a bowl on there, zero it out, and put your 28 grams of chips in there and eat them slowly. Bite them in half so your tongue, and you can get the flavor of it. It's like popcorn. There's no law that says the proper way of eating popcorn is shoving a whole handful in your mouth. You can eat it one or two at a time, and you're enjoying the flavor of it. An activity I would do with my students is I would give them a Hershey's Kiss, and I would ask them to eat it as slowly as they could. And then I gave them I'm not sure if I did this first or second. The other one was just, here's a Hershey's Kiss. Gobble it right up, and they do. I do that first. And then the second is I give them another one, and I challenge them to eat it slowly. And then when I'm done with the lesson, I'd always ask them, so which was more satisfying? And it was the one they ate slowly because that chocolate was on their tongue, and they really got satisfied from it. But by gobbling up, they wanted even more. So there's a lot to be said for this first rule. Another one is eating while doing something else. If you're doing something around the house and you're snacking or watching television or reading or playing video games, you have no clue of what you're eating. You're focused on the task at hand. So snacking should be its own activity. Take a break, sit down, not eating out of the bag, and enjoy your snack. Because these two right here are adding a ton of extra calories in there that you're not even aware you're eating. Eating too fast, I mentioned, if you eat slowly, you're getting satiated. Your brain has 20 minutes to process that you're eating. Take it easy. Set a timer if you need to. Eating when bored. I used to ask myself, how many times have you ever done this, whether as a kid or as an adult? You go to the refrigerator and you open it up. What do I want? What's good in here? And you get yelled at, shut the refrigerator door, you're letting all the cold air out. Are you eating because you're really hungry or that you're bored? If you do that, if you're eating for entertainment, you're going to be taking in a lot of unnecessary calories in a day. So eat only when you're hungry. One thing I always ask myself, I find myself walking to the cupboards, the pantry, or the refrigerator and standing there like, wait a minute, am I hungry or is my pig hungry? And 9 times out of 10, it's like, yeah, it's my pig. And I'll walk away and find something to keep my mind occupied so I'm not bored. Eating a dessert with every meal, you don't have to. I don't know where that came from, but some families, I have to have a dessert with my meal. That should be once in a while. You can eat anything you want. Take your favorite food that's terrible for you. You can still have it. Eat a small portion, eat it slow. Once in a while is a rare treat. You don't have to give it up, because if you do that, you're going to be, oh boy, when I get off the diet, I'm going to be going at that cheesecake. Get small slices, individually freeze them in separate containers, and every once in a while, enjoy it. And if you're going to bake something, give it away. Eat some and give the rest to somebody else. You're minimizing that temptation. So you can eat anything if you limit the frequency and the amount of it. Another bad habit is not exercising regularly, because everything you're eating, it's going to go right onto your body if you're not giving it a chance to be used. So some good habits. This is a little part to show you how to make a habit. I read a wonderful book by Charles Duhigg called The Power of Habit. I highly recommend the book, just to know how your own brain operates and how people use how your brain operates against you, including shopping carts, casinos. You would not believe how you're being manipulated with your data. It shows you that, but it also shows you how to take charge. Bad habits can never be broken. If you're trying to stop sitting around, you're trying to quit smoking, you can't just stop. It's not going to happen. You will fail. They can only be modified. I take that back. If you have tremendous willpower, you might be able to do it. The key to breaking a bad habit is not breaking it, but modifying it. Identify what the trigger is. If you smoke, find out when you smoke the most frequently. My sister always told me after a big meal, that's when she wanted a cigarette. So minimize the big meal. Or if you're going to have that big meal, know that you're going to want a cigarette afterward, and you've got to avoid it. Separate it with something else. Do the lifesaver, something pleasurable. So if you can't eliminate that habit, you've got to modify it. So the key to building a good habit or modifying a bad habit is a reward. Whenever I've trained anyone up in the Wellness Center, I make a big point of this. You have to have a reward to keep you going. And you can only get this reward, whatever it is, when you do what you're trying to do. So I was helping a friend of mine, I trained him, and his reward we agreed to start with was going to be a little foil wrapped Reese's peanut butter cup. And he understood, now only if he worked out could he have one of those. And that's what we started with. And I already said that. So the reward can change over time. He discovered there's a sauna here at the Y. And he realized when we got done training, he still had another hour before he had to be to work, because Portville starts school at 7:30. He was a fellow teacher, only it starts later. So his reward would be go to the sauna. And he loved and enjoyed that, and that was his reward. But the reward changed again, because here's what happens. You start noticing, I'm feeling better. Or, whoa, I'm looking a lot better. Look how my clothes are fitting me. And then this starts happening. People say, man, what are you doing? You're looking good. Bing, reward. A big change for me, a surprise reward. I remember walking through the hallway at school, and Chrissy Matz, phys ed teacher there, good friend of mine. I was walking through, and she was gesticulating, and she came through, and she hit my arm, and she's like, ow. And she goes, Mr. Roger, your bicep almost broke my hand. And that was a big flattering moment. But little things like that start piling up, and that motivates you to keep it going. And then that reward will be coming intrinsically, not anything material. And if you can keep that going for at least 90 days, the newer modified habit will be established. Whatever you do, don't revert. If you know this key, this code that you're trying to program your brain on, if you revert in a moment of weakness and you use some lame excuse, I was stressed out, I was tired, some reason, this will all fail, and you will have to start from the very beginning, day one again, and you're going to need longer than 90 days to establish the habit. So you can use these principles for stop smoking, start exercising, change your diet, start saving money. Sky's the limit. So here's how our body operates. Your body wants you to be fat. It's a matter of survival. Your brain and your body doesn't instinctually, I can't talk tonight, know how easy it is to get food. We can just go to Walmart, the corner store, the freezer, the refrigerator. So it naturally wants to, because we may have a drought. The animals, they may have suffered from disease and the hunting's bad, or we can't gather anymore. So in situations like that, we can revert to our body fat even though we're going days on end without food. Winter is the most difficult month to lose body fat if you're not ready for it. Here's more of the instinctual part. Shorter days means less hours of sunlight. The body, this should be, what did I write here? This means, yeah, that makes sense. This means less vitamin D production by your body. So the deficit is why we want to eat denser, richer foods in the fall and winter, because we're getting shorter hours of daylight, which also means through the history of time, you can't go out and gather food anymore. Animals are hibernating. You're competing with the wolves now because it's scarce, and it's harder and harder to get food. So that's why during the winter months, it's normal to put on 10 pounds in the winter time. And that's if you're active. If you're not, holy cow, it gets away from you. To me, this season always starts right around the time they start breaking out with the pumpkin flavored this, pumpkin spice that. I call it the Great Pumpkin because the way it goes. Because as soon as that comes out, then we have Halloween and Halloween candy, and then we're going to Thanksgiving, and oh, it's time to do baking. And here comes Christmas, yay! Ooh, New Year's Eve, let's pack in that. Okay, I need to make a New Year's resolution, but oh, honey, it's Valentine's Day. Here's a box of chocolate. And then here comes Easter hopping down the bunny trail with all the chocolates in the Easter basket. So finally, when the sun comes around and we start getting more hours of daylight, we're producing more vitamin C, we've got a bunch of extra baggage we got to get off. So that's what I mean. If you're prepared for it, you can batten down the hatches and try to stay the course. To this end, summertime, any time of year, the sun's weaker in the wintertime, so you need to spend more time out there. But beware of putting on sunscreen unless you're super sensitive for your skin. If you're going to be outside for 30 minutes, don't use sunscreen because you're blocking out the opportunity for vitamin D production. And if it's warm enough to go out sleeveless, the more flesh you have exposed, the better it's going to be for vitamin D production. And supplements aren't anywhere near as good as the real thing. They help. You can also get like a sunlight lamp. I have one of these. but I can't sit down long enough to use it every day to get that sunlight from it that I need. So when you eat, here's the process. Your body converts all your carbs, simple and complex, to glycogen. The glycogen that isn't burned is stored in your skeletal muscles. And this is how you're able to get up in the morning without eating. You have that stored energy. So all day long as you're eating, your body's storing that in. And when the glycogen stores are filled up, the rest is converted into body fat, which are your triglycerides. And that's saved for later energy for emergency stores if you're going to have to go days without eating. In order to get to that stuff, to burn it, to metabolize body fat, you have to exercise, preferably cardio, for 45 minutes of continuous exercise, and that will deplete all your glycogen stores, and then your body will start burning body fat. And has anyone ever heard of intermittent fasting in here? It sounds like a fad. It is not a fad. I do it too. You get up in the morning, don't eat breakfast right away. Go get your workout in. Get that done, deplete your glycogen stores. Then, after you're going to find out that when you work out, you're suddenly not hungry because your body's like, forget about that. I've got energy and I got to process it here. About an hour after you work out, then you're going to start feeling hungry, and then go ahead. You'll be filling up your glycogen stores, and all day long, if you're watching your calories, you're going to be using your glycogen stores. And if you go an extended period and you're hungry for a little bit, that's when you're going to be hitting the stored triglycerides, the body fat. And that's how you do it. We naturally, if we're primitive humans, when we're on the planet, we wake up in the morning, we didn't roll off the rock and say, okay, let's make breakfast, honey. They had to go out and hunt it down, and there are things that had to be taken care of before they could have their first meal of the day. It's a natural, normal thing. So knowing how the body's storing fat is a long way of trying how to reverse the process. And that's exactly what it is. You have to reverse the weight gain. But to be clear, you want to reduce body fat, not lose weight. There's a difference. I wish I would have thought to bring them. I have a model of silicone fat and silicone muscle. They're the same mass, weighing the same, but the muscle is less than the fat. So fat is not dense at all, but muscle is. If you've ever shaken up a container of salad dressing, you'll see that the fat is rising above the water. It's not really dense at all. So when you have more fat on your body, it's going to take up more space. So you want to minimize the fat and increase your muscle mass. Why? Because your muscle is going to require more energy that you're eating to maintain that muscle. You don't have to work to maintain body fat. Just sit on your butt, watch what happens. So you want to reduce your body fat. And when you start losing weight, you'll see the number on the scale change. But then when you start exercising and building muscle, it's going to look like you're not losing weight. You're not. You're losing body fat. The number one guide for this are the clothes you want to wear. Clothes that don't fit anymore. Keep them around. And as you start seeing the difference on the scale and you've been in it, start trying these things on and you'll be amazed, wow, I can wear these again. And if you work on this and do it smart and don't try to overdo it, you're going to see this steadily going in that direction. Yeah, but it takes time. You can't get it in a pill. There's no quick fix to do it. It took time to put it on. It's going to take time to put it off. Now, if you diet without exercise, you're just going to get a smaller version of your current shape. But when you do exercise and diet combined, it's going to speed up the process, and it has many benefits, including changing your shape. So the benefits of diet and exercise, I think you kind of know a lot of this since you're here. You're going to feel better. You're going to look better. You're going to be able to resist disease and cancer better. Most of the people, unfortunately, that COVID claimed were not in shape. They were obese and had health problems because their immune system and their body's ability to fight back were compromised. They were drowning in themselves. Diet and exercise will build up immunity. It will strengthen your heart, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, all of your body systems. It's going to increase longevity. It's going to reduce your stress. When you exercise regularly, you'll be sleeping so well at night. My girlfriend used to always go crazy. Like, you can go to bed and just sleep in minutes. And she, how do you do that? I just do. And it's not like I'm always going to bed exhausted. It will prevent falls. It will improve and prevent arthritis. It will improve your blood pressure. It can help prevent stroke, depression, anxiety, improve your mood. And as I said, improve sleep. It improves your bedroom proclivities. And it provides social opportunities because you're going to know people from the gym. You two just joined the gym, the Y recently. Remember I said this? You're going to meet a lot of great people here. The relationships you have while working out, especially in this place, on point. The greatest people I've known in my life are through here. It's amazing. Can't impress again the benefits that the Y gives, not just for you as an individual, but what it does for our community. So types of exercise, two main types. We have cardio and we have weight training, which I thought I underlined. All right, cardio improves your heart and lungs. It makes your heart's normally going to beat like this. And if you're trying to get blood from point A to point B, it's going to have to go a lot faster when you're exercising. But it's a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it's going to get. And you're going to find your heart's going to be more efficient and it's going to give a harder pump. And so instead of doing this, it's doing this. So your heart's beating less, and theoretically, you'll live longer, at least for your heart. You can do low impact cardio, walking, swimming, biking. But beware, a lot of people think they can go out and walk and talk like this, and they think they're exercising. They are, but minimally. There's a level of intensity that you want to gauge. And here at the Y, if you take any classes, the instructors will show you a degree of exertion chart. To exercise vigorously, you should find it difficult to maintain a conversation. And you should be kind of breathing like this. In fact, you're going to want to shut up. That's a good level. You don't want to overdo it, though. Like, that's when you're going to do some harm to yourself. So there's also high-impact cardio like running and aerobics. You can gauge your intensity by something called the VO2 max. This is something I learned through my training certification that I got through the Y once upon a time. And it's how you feel, your shortness of breath, talking and cell phone use kind of. So to do it, it means your maximum volume of oxygen that your body can process. So you can take 220 and subtract your age. And this determines your maximum heart rate. So you divide your maximum heart rate by your resting heart rate. Check your pulse when you're at rest. And then multiply it by 15.3. And this will give you a number that determines how vigorous your cardio should be. And you will find that this will change as you're exercising, and you will be able to increase the intensity and the duration of what you're trying to do. And I believe you had mentioned you wanted to build up your stamina. So that right there will help you, and it's right in your notes. And it will improve as your heart and lungs become stronger. Now, weight training is the one that will help sculpt your body. Both of these are essential. You really don't want to pick one or the other. A lot of people, when they think of exercise, this is where they go. But this is the sculpting part, but here's the big money ticket. It burns calories for the exercise just like cardio does. But it continues to burn calories day after as your muscles rebuild and repair. Because that's exactly what building muscle is. You tear your muscle fibers down and your body has to rebuild it. And what does your body need in order for that to happen? But protein. It will improve your balance and it will reduce strain on your joints as well. So, and what I mean by that, if anyone has experienced knee pain and you're going up and down stairs like, oh, it's killing my knees, or I can't run anymore because my knees are too bad. No, what's going on is, in most cases, you're putting all the stress on your joints and you're not using your muscles to go up and down the stairs. You're letting your joints and tendons do it. If you have more firm and developed leg muscles, you're going to go up and they're going to be doing all the work like they're supposed to, not your joints. And that's going to help improve that. And you're going to find, well, my knee pain went away. That happens. I'm not saying it's always going to happen because I don't know exactly what your specific ailments are, but that's a big one. And for the record, when you're weight training, leg day is dreadful because they're the biggest muscles in your body. But believe me when I tell you, you get more bang for your buck working all your leg muscles, your quads, your hamstrings, and your calves, all of them put together. They transport you every day, and you're going to be sore for a couple days because of the buildup of lactic acid. But it is so worth it. You have more muscle, you're going to have them in your legs, you're going to be able to eat more, and you're going to find you need to eat more. And wouldn't that be nice? When you're going to exercise or do activities you enjoy, find those, because if you don't, it's going to be work and you're not going to be able to keep it going. If you hate running, but you find it effective, for good Lord, find something else. That's important. Give me 1 second. So don't overdo it because you will burn out and your chances of making a good habit will diminish. A big thing that I've seen people do, they start losing weight and they're really, really looking good and they've been going at it. And they overdo it. I want to keep it going and I want to do it more and more so I can get this going, so I can get to where I want to be faster. That's going to send your body into starvation mode. And I'll get to that. And I'm telling you, and you can do it with a diet. You can start reducing more and more calories, maybe exercise more and more. You're going to speed up the process. But if you do this, it will cause your body to perceive it as starting and you will yo-yo. You will have no control over it. Believe me, I've been there. Once upon a time when I first started out, I did something called a cybergenics diet. It was a fad diet that had high carb days and low carb days. And I kept overdoing, I'm going to have more low carb days. And I kept going and I hit my goal. And that's why when you do those goals at the beginning, if your goal is weight loss or drop body fat and you have a number in mind, I got to tell you, watch out, because if you stop when you hit your goal, then what? You're probably going to go right back to what you were doing before you started, and then you're going to be back in the same boat again, especially when the pumpkins come out. So you have to understand, when you undergo a regimen like this, you got to make it something that you can do long term, because this is your new way of life, and you've got to make it sustainable. Overdoing it or having high expectations, I thought I should have lost this by now. Throw that out the window. Let your clothes be your guide. Let how you feel be your guide. But don't overdo it, because then you'll drop it and you're like, oh, I'm putting all this weight back on. And then you, after a while, eating, going crazy, you're going to go at it again. You're going to try to lose it again. And that's what yo-yoing is. So back to when I was on that cybergenics diet. I clearly recall sitting at my kitchen table and eating. And I'm like, okay, I ate enough. I'm full. And yet I was still eating and eating. It blew my mind. I am not kidding you. I sat there thinking, my God, I'm still eating and I can't stop as I'm eating. I want to stop, but I can't. And that's literally what happens, because your brain goes in, enough of this. We're starving here. We got to survive. And your brain will have no control over that. It's instinctual. So be careful about that. Aim for a weight loss of 2 to 3 pounds per week, and you'll lose more to start with. There'll be a lot of water weight gain, and your body will be like, whoa. But then you'll lose less and you want to shoot for 2 to 3 pounds a week. And as I said, don't confuse the number on the scale with the amount of your amount of body fat. You're not aiming for a lower number on the scale. But there are fat handheld monitors that you want your hands slightly moist, and you want to take it at the same time every day on an empty stomach, and that will give you some kind of ballpark guide on what your body fat is. There are many more elaborate ways to gauge your body fat, but really let your clothes be your guide. Don't go into that. That's, in my mind, kind of becoming obsessive compulsive. Remember, muscle is more dense than fat, so another more credence to working out, weight training, and doing to build up that muscle mass. Expect to plateau at some point. This is normal. It's called your set point. And some call it their bodies being stubborn. Keep at it, ignore it, keep going. It may take weeks, but eventually your body will start reducing the body fat again and getting you where you're going. All right. Here's a myth. We're almost at the end. So metabolism slows as we age. How many people have heard that? Anybody? Yeah.
I believe it.
I used to believe it too, but guess what? It's not true, and it's scientifically been quantified. Here's the reality. We're less active and more sedentary as we get older due to our jobs and other responsibilities. That's what's going on. Think about, compare your daily activity to that of kids. They get up in the morning, yeah, we're going to go outside. They're walking to school. They're going to school, having phys ed. They're out of their seats, jumping around. They're on the playgrounds. They're burning energy like nobody's business, and their bodies are growing. And yet they don't need as much food as an adult. So kids are always on the go, and they have built-in phys ed, and they seem to have no shortage of energy. And some kids can't even, like I was one of these kids, I couldn't sit still in my seat for the instruction part. But as we get older, and as a teacher even, I'm sitting at my desk, I'm correcting papers, I'm answering emails, contacting parents. I do a lot of sedentary work. I have to keep my phys ed in my morning routine just to keep things going, but my metabolism is not slow. If you want to increase your metabolism, you have to increase your activity. Start doing things, going places, walking, biking. If you have a workout routine in the morning, great, but you can add to that throughout the day. But again, don't overdo it if you're doing it just to try to minimize your body fat. Just understand your metabolism, you have control over if you're mindful of it. Here are some pointers. As I said earlier, eat a variety of foods to get all the nutrients you need. Consume a daily vitamin. Drink plenty of water. Not only does it hydrate you, it helps you feel full. We're mostly water. Our brain needs water to conduct electricity, to think clearer and do the thinking and body control issues of everything the nervous system does. Your respiratory system needs it so it can ride the red blood cells along with your digestive system. It needs it for food to go through your digestive system. Of course, your blood needs it. That makes up plasma, which is the majority of your blood, and it's all water. If you dehydrate, all those things slow down. And finally, the big 5 of wellness. These are the keys to success. And if you're missing any of these, it's like a bicycle with a flat tire or a tricycle. You get all wobbly. You got to practice good nutrition. Make sure you're balanced. Make sure you're paying attention to that 5-20 rule. Get your daily exercise, and for God's sakes, get enough sleep. If you don't get enough sleep, it will sap your strength, your willpower, your good judgment. It's a plate of brownies there. I don't care. I'm just hungry, for crying out loud. It's been a hard day. Because you didn't get enough sleep. You will be shopping. You won't even be hungry, but ooh, that looks good. You know what? I don't even care. I've worked hard. I'm going to get it. And next thing you know, this will derail you like nobody's business. You got to have plenty of water, as I said, and you got to keep your stress levels low. If you can hit on all 5 of these, you're going to have quality of life, and you're going to have quantity of life. And it's never too late to get going on these principles on everything. It's like saving money. You are literally investing in your health and your future. You can save money. Is it ever too late to save money? Well, look how old I am. I might as well spend it. I don't need it for that's ridiculous. It's never too late to exercise and get it together. And once you know all the parts you got to get going, it's on you. So for everyone that's here tonight, I'm going to give you my email address. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and I'd happily call you, get in touch with you and email you back, because I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm doing it because I care and because I know the benefits that I've had. So I'll spell it out, and you will have it for everyone online.
You want me to type it into the chats and everything
Sure.
too?
Yep.
Perfect.
It's G as in golf, R Romeo, I India, P Papa. So it's grip with 2 R's, monkey, mama, can't remember what O is. No, I want to say Ontario, but O, N.
Nutrition.
Yeah, okay, nutrition, that'll work. I'll forget the radio telephone. K is in kilo, echo, Yankee. So grip monkey at yahoo.com. All right. And again, my name is Gene Rogers, GeneRogers. Just tell me your name. Tell me if you were here or if you were online. Ask me your questions and I'll help you out. And if you ever want to come down and say hi or get some pointers, I'm here usually most mornings from 5:30 a.m. because I get a run in first. And I'm up in the Wellness Center every day. So there you go.
All right.
All right. Any questions from here?
You know, I do.
Yeah.
Back at the nutritional label,
Yes.
does it show us the carbs and protein on there?
That's a good question. Let me jump back. Is it touchscreen? Of course it's not. So,
Yeah, we don't have the
There we
touch
go.
screen here.
all right. Well, I thought this might be. It looks like a little Chromebook. Okay, so fats are showing the saturated fats and the trans fats, the things we want to avoid. There's only 1 gram of those. That means we have 2 grams of unsaturated fat. And also bear in mind that these are rounded off. Now, when it comes to carbohydrates, there's your total carbs. This is showing the fibers and the sugars. It's not showing the starches. So if you have 13 grams, and if you take out the 8 grams of sugar and the 1 gram of fiber, you can figure out that you've got 4 grams of starches in there, which is probably the flour. Starches are things like rice, flour, pastas, things like that. So what was your question about the carbs?
Well, I think it just showed it on there, but with the carbs, does it say is it simple, complex, or?
Yeah, it does. And sometimes this is an older label. So on this one, it's a newer label. It's saying total carbs, and it's showing dietary fiber, total sugars or added sugars. And if you subtract that from the total carbs, these pretzels have 23 grams per serving, less than 1 gram of fiber, 1 gram of sugar. So 22 grams then of starches. So you'll have, it's not showing you the starch, the good thing, go figure. And it's not showing you the unsaturated fat. Sometimes they do though. These do, surprisingly. So, you know, Canada kind of puts us to shame with their nutrition labels compared to ours. This tends to favor and make them look a little bit better than they are, which I think favors the food manufacturers than the consumer does. But we're trying to revamp it, but no one can come to a consensus of the best label that we should have. But this is a version of the newer one. You can see it's different. And for the smaller bags, they're saying now on them, they're showing per entire container, because that's a huge one. People have notoriously thought, oh, it's 1 container, it's this many calories. So that was a good question.
You know, when you're saying the 5-20 rule, you say 5 is low, 20 is high. What if it's 15? Is that considered high or low?
Well, yeah, it's on the high side. So think of it this way. So let's say you got $1 and that's all you got, because that's all you have is 100% for the day for that nutrient. Okay, that's a nickel. I still have 95 cents. 20 cents, okay, now I have 80 cents to last me the rest of the day. If it's 15 cents, think about when you get into the swing of it and you see what you're eating. Is it worth 15 cents? It's kind of high. I wish it were more 10. And by the way, you'll see on sugars, they really put a percentage there. As a rule of thumb for me, when it comes to sugar, if it's single digits, I'm okay with it. If it goes a little bit above 10 grams, then I start asking myself, well, how much am I getting here? If it's a big serving and there's 12 grams per serving, I can live with that because there's not a lot of sugar in it. But if the serving is just 2 little cookies and there's 12 grams, that's a lot, and I'm going to be hungry later. So my big thing is no one likes going hungry, so I try to gear my diet. You know what my favorite dessert is? Peanut butter and jelly on whole wheat bread. And I've got my fiber, I've got my carbs with the bread, I got a little bit of sweetness with the jelly, and I'm getting lots of protein and unsaturated healthy fat in the peanut butter. I also love snacking on, some people hate raisins, but I love raisins and eating them with almonds and putting them together. It's like a fruit nut thing. And that's a great snack and a dessert all in one to me. And you know, if you have a certain dessert that you really like that's 100% sugar, it's okay. You know what kills me every year that I love? And they're hard to find anymore, the mellow creams, like the candy pumpkins. I like those. Serving size is 4 of those. I'll allow myself 2, and I'll bite it in half, slowly eat that. Then I'll eat the base, half of that, and I'll enjoy that. And I'll eat the other base. I just had 3, as far as my tongue's concerned. And then I'll eat the other one the same way. And then I get up and go do something else, so I'm not thinking about it. I don't want to get back in that bag. So that's a great way to eat something that's not necessarily good for you. You just restrict it, and you don't do it every time. I keep a bag in my desk at school. I always have some in the freezer at home. And a bag will last me 2 months. And it's minimal on a daily basis. It's just a few extra carbs that I'm going to get, and I'm good to go. But you just start thinking long term, and you can find that, you know, those little, around Halloween, you have those little tiny servings that come in a bag for trick or treating. Those are really great serving wise, because if you like junior mints, you can eat half a junior mint, eat half of the half, and then eat the remaining quarter. And you've eaten an itty bitty box. And I think the serving size is 2 of those boxes. So you can really cut it down. And again, eating it slowly in smaller portions, you're still getting full flavor. And that's a great way to eat something that you like. Just eat less and less frequently.
Nuts, does it matter what kind of nuts?
I'm pretty big on almonds. Peanuts, they're at the bottom of my list. They're cheap, they're common, and they tend to be more oily and less of the fiber of the nut. But pistachios are good. My favorite is almonds, and I have a thing for pecans as well. Walnuts are great in different things. If I'm going to make oatmeal, I might throw some almonds in there. It's a great way to add some crunch to it. And I always use the old-fashioned oats, never the instant. You'd be surprised how much sugar are in a lot of your cereals. A really healthy cereal that I love is my favorite are bran flakes, because it goes well with bananas, blueberries, raspberries, you name it, you throw them in there, boom. It's a great breakfast to have, and you're getting a good dose of fiber to start your day. Good. All right, any others?
What about the artificial sugars?
That's a great question. Yeah, you know, there was a great trainer. There was a good friend of mine that I first started training with, and he motivated me to become a trainer. Was Andy Evans. God rest you, Andy. He always told me, "You got to stop drinking Diet Mountain Dew." But I love the caffeine. And I start my day every morning with I drink a lot less of it. Longitudinal studies have shown that too much caffeine can have a bad effect on your bones. So I've cut back on that because a good rule of thumb is too much of anything is probably not a good idea, except for water. But even water, you could overdo that, I suppose. You don't want to drown. But here's the thing. A lot of people have been saying, and it's a lot of hearsay, oh, don't eat artificial sweeteners. It'll cause cancer in rats. Well, yeah, if you eat a couple of pounds, but it's safer, wouldn't be on the market from the FDA. That's the bottom line. But some people, and you probably know some people who do this, they'll go to Burger King and they'll order a Big Mac with all that sodium and fat, and they'll get it with a Diet Pepsi. I've gotten gas before, seen people over at the country fair getting boxes of pizza and then Diet Pepsi. And so the reason some people say it's bad is because they're thinking, well, I'm drinking a diet soda so I can have more calories here. I say, well, what if you were drinking water though? Which you should be drinking. So a lot of people tend to use it as a crutch to give themselves permission to eat more calories. And another thing that comes up is when it comes to artificial sweeteners and Splenda, is that some people claim that it makes people crave even more sugar. I have never personally experienced that. I will bake with Splenda. Rather than buying cookies made in a store, if I can make my own cookies and I can regulate the amount of sugar by supplementing it with Splenda as often as I make cookies, that's a win in my book. So, there's really isn't. If you ask anyone who tells you it's bad for you and diet sodas are bad for you, because we know sodas are bad, but when you specify diet, they'll generalize, oh, all sodas are bad for you. Doesn't matter if it's diet or not. Not true. You show me, give me proof. Google it, try to find it, how it's bad for you. Happy hunting. It really doesn't. So in my opinion, there are going to be some scientists out there that are going to say, well, it can do this and that. If that's the truth, don't you think it would be more common knowledge? That's my personal opinion. So I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. But based on all my research and all my years, I've yet to see something from it. Back in the day, diet sodas used to be really high in sodium, cyclamates. Not anymore. So that's my answer to that question. And if someone can refute that, great, send me an email. I'll read it. I'm always in the interest of challenging myself and getting other viewpoints, because otherwise I got blinders on. But that's what I've learned. Okay? All right, let me ask you a question. Did you find my information helpful tonight? Did you find something you can use? Awesome. That's my whole point for being here. That makes me feel great. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's it. Thanks for everyone who couldn't make it but tuned in. Thank you for letting me invade and cash in on your time.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
All right.
For popping in and viewing online on YouTube and on Facebook. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to find me. I'm usually up on the top floor on the Wellness Center. Usually my voice, like I said, sounds a million times better, but life happens and I've been on the go all the time. So again, any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, find me, and I can even direct you to Jean for any questions at all. And we'll be having another seminar later in a couple weeks talking about sleep and stress. And that's when I will actually be instructing and my voice will definitely be better. So again, thank you everyone for coming in and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And we're ending YouTube and we are ending Facebook.
All right.